Two types of pleasures, quantity versus quality. Bentham's formulation of hedonic calculus to provide a quantitative calculation of the value of different pleasures, where decisions are made into a simple exercise of addition and deduction at arriving at a final balance, put him rightly or wrongly under the level of psychological hedonist. But unlike the ethical egoist, who only pursued his or her own personal desire and happiness, Bentham insists that we should not only pursue our own self-interest, but also that of the group or the majority. The greatest happiness of the greatest number is for Bentham the top priority over individual happiness. As Bentham maintains a quantitative position in evaluating the amount of pleasure that we can get into an act, his genius of a pupil, John Stuart Mill, develops his own version that enables his view to deviate from the of his master. Mill introduces a way of determining pleasure that is not just confined to quantity or amount, but more on its quality. Thus, he claims that pleasures are of two types, quantity and quality. Pleasures differ not just in amount but also in quality. He says that pleasures of the mind or the spirit are higher than pleasures of the flesh and of the body. According for Mill, persons should seek the higher pleasure than just pursue the lower kind that is associated with mere sensual satisfactions or fulfillment. He sums this up with his famous and unforgettable line, "It is better to be a human being dissatisfied than a pig satisfied. Better to be Socrates dissatisfied than a fool satisfied." Though in complete agreement with Bentham that only pleasure or happiness is the only good in itself, Mill values not so much the amount of pleasures that one can get out from one's action, but the particular type of pleasures that follows from it in its quality. How much pleasure is not as valuable to Mill as to what kind of pleasure one gets. A concrete and simple example would help clarify the preceding point. Let us say you receive an allowance of 1,000 pesos from your parents for the week. Are you going to spend the whole of it for food, drinks, and other physical vices such as cigarettes and the like? Or you would rather spend part of it to enrich yourself mentally and spiritually by buying an ethics book? Following Mill's prescription, one should spend part of it to feed one's mind and soul, and not just to satisfy one's bodily needs and physical cravings. As one contemporary author amply puts it, "A life with only bodily pleasures is not as good as one containing pleasures of the mind and spirit. The pleasure that one gets from acquiring love, having knowledge, being morally good, securing freedom, knowing God, and so on makes life much more worth living than a life that wallows in the mere of bodily pleasures alone." The basic presupposition on the above remarks is that humans belong to a higher level of creatures whose concerns are not just limited to the pursuit of brute satisfaction, but also have that capacity to discriminate the kind of pleasure that is worthy of their own dignity as thinking and rational beings. Although this emphasis gives rise to the allegation that Mill is an elitist in his thinking, him being a man of high intellect.